We need some clear and steady leadership. And that's why I was ahead of the curve in calling for regulation.
We must act deliberately and thoughtfully to get it right. We may have to act in phases given the current crisis. But inaction is not an option at all. And time is not neutral. We must move forcefully and aggressively.
He felt the need to go ahead and, regardless of where we were in the negotiations, put forth a bill on Monday.
Better late than never when it comes to financial reform, I guess. Yes, it's 18 months after Lehman Brothers and AIG pretty much collapsed and almost sent the entire global financial system down with them. And finally, it appears that we will have a real financial reform bill, admittedly one that does not have much of the backing of the Republicans. Senator Chris Dodd is intent on proposing financial reform, and you got to give him credit. I mean, clearly, on the one hand, there's little risk for Dodd because he is a lame duck. He doesn't have to worry about this becoming a referendum in November for him personally. But at the same time, he probably does want to get this through before his term ends. This is kind of going to be a big part of Dodd's legacy.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Now, what do I think about what we're seeing in the proposed reform bill? I gotta wonder if the Fed really deserves even more power, which is what it seems is going to be the case. I'm a little worried about that. The Fed has its hands full with its main mandate of monitoring monetary policy and trying to keep inflation in check and better employment than we have right now. Adding on the responsibilities of having the Fed now take part of this consumer protection agency that's being proposed seems to be possibly giving the Fed more powers than it really can take right now, biting off more than it can chew, so to speak. And also you have to wonder if it's really the right place for it in the first place. The FDIC is the main government agency that deals with consumers when you have failed banks. I'd argue that the FDIC might be a better place to house some sort of consumer protection agency. And at the same time, you have this whole too big to fail notion, and that the Fed is going to have the power to seize large financial institutions. We already have the FDIC with the power of seizing failed banks, and it's a pretty orderly process that has worked. And it's not as if the FDIC just does this with tiny little podunk community banks. I mean, Washington Mutual was the largest bank failure in history, and the FDIC handled that with considerable aplomb. So I applaud Chris Dodd for trying to get something through, but my biggest gripe is the Fed's getting a little bit more power than it deserves and may be even able to handle at this point in time.